Welcome to the Right Channel Radio Guide on tuning your CB antenna. I'm Right Channel Radio Sales Manager, Andrew Udarian, and in this video I'm going to walk you through step by step how to effectively and properly tune your antenna for peak performance. Now the first step you need to make sure that you perform is to come out to an open area. As you can see here, we have the vehicle, the antenna to be tuned, but we've got a lot of open space. There's no real big buildings or power lines or light poles, garages or other structures that'll taint the readings at all. So as best possible, sometimes it's hard to come out, especially if you live in an urban area. You want to come out and make sure you can find as open of an area as possible to tune your antenna in. So once you've got your vehicle into an open area that's fairly free of obstructions, you're going to want to hook up your SWR meter in line with your system. So this is a real basic SWR meter. As you can see, it has a few dials and a display on the front here. One thing you really need to take careful notice of is the two labels on the side. Now this says TX, which stands for transmit and indicates the radio side, and the other side has an ANT, which indicates antenna, and that's the side you hook the antenna in line with. Now if we flip this over, you've got the two connections here, which are with the radio and antenna connections. So you want to make sure you hook these up correctly. If you don't, you'll get some really skewed readings and won't be able to effectively or correctly tune your antenna. So let's start out with the TX for the radio side. So I'm going to go ahead and take the jumper cable I received here. This is a jumper cable that should have come with, depending on the meter that you purchased, it may have come with your SWR meter, or you may have to purchase one separately. It's just a standard PL259 connection on both sides, and it's about 18 inches long. One end of this, the other end of this, is hooked up to my radio, and then I'll take this end and hook it up to the transmit or radio side of the SWR meter. Real easy, just push it in and screw it on. On the other side, like we just said, the antenna side, this is where I'll hook up the line coming in from my antenna. Now this is the cable that's coming in from my antenna and normally plugs into the back of the radio, but for this case I'll go ahead and just screw it right back into the back of the SWR meter. So now my meter is in line between my radio and the antenna. So once you have your SWR meter hooked up in line successfully between your antenna and your radio, you can go ahead and start to take some readings. Now, we're going to take readings on channel 1 and channel 40. So to start out with, go ahead and make sure your radio is tuned to channel 1. As you can see here, we've got it tuned to channel 1 on this Cobra radio. Now, to take an SWR reading on a given channel, what you're going to do first is you're going to make sure that your SWR meter switch, the forward and reference switch, is flipped up to the forward position. And then you're going to go ahead and key the microphone. And that just means depress the talk button on the microphone and keep it held down. So go ahead and press it, and you can see the needle jumped up there, which lets us know that it successfully was keyed. So this takes a little bit of coordination, but as you keep that microphone keyed, we're going to go ahead and change or adjust the calibration dial here so that that needle is directly on the set location on our screen. Bounce around a little bit, but get it as close as you can, and then once it's there, while you're still holding down the microphone key, flip it to the reference position, that switch, and it goes down, and you get your first SWR reading. So this one on channel 1 or SWR is about 1.2, which is a very good level of SWR. Now you can go ahead and let go of the keying of the microphone, and you've got your first SWR reading on channel 1 of 1.2. Now, to take the SWR reading on channel 40, we'll just repeat the same process. Go ahead and change the channel of your radio to channel 40. Once it's on channel 40, you're going to hold down the push. You're going to flip back up the forward switch on your SWR meter. So make sure you're in the FWD position. Key the microphone again. Come back and adjust that calibration switch so you're at the set position. Flip down to reference, and you take your second reading. So for this one, it's about a little over 2.5. So you can go ahead and let go of the microphone button. So we just successfully took 2 readings. Channel 1 was 1.2, and channel 40 was about 2.5 SWR. Now, whether you need to lengthen or shorten your antenna really depends on the readings. If the SWR on channel 40 is greater than the SWR on channel 1, that indicates your antenna is too long and needs to be shortened. And vice versa, if the SWR on channel 1 is greater than the SWR on channel 40, that indicates an antenna that's too short and needs to be lengthened. So in the last readings we took, the channel 1 had very low SWR, below 1.5, and channel 40 had SWR above 2.5, so that indicates a long antenna that we need to shorten. So we'll go ahead and show you the appropriate way to shorten that outside the vehicle right now. So here we are outside with the antenna, and one thing you'll always need to make sure of is whenever you take readings, you want to leave this antenna cap on. A lot of top-load antennas have a weather cap comes off, so we'll obviously have to take it off for the adjustment of the tip here. Now this is a Wilson antenna and uses you can't see on the other side, it's on the other side of the antenna here, but there's a little screw, a little set screw that I'll use this Allen wrench to undo. A lot of fire stick antennas will have a screw adapter down here where you don't need tools, you can just unscrew something and move that tip up and down. But this one will need to use an adjustment. So as we learned in the car with the readings of the meter, the SWR on channel 40 was higher than on channel 1, indicating a long antenna. So we'll need to go ahead and shorten the tip of this in order to get the SWR levels to where we want them to be. So I'll go ahead and loosen the screw here. One thing you want to always make certain to do is make very incremental changes when you do this. Incremental in terms of a couple millimeters at a time. It actually can change it that much. One little adjustment can really affect your SWR. So I'll go ahead and loosen the tip there and slide it down just a little bit. You really can't probably tell in the video, but I probably pushed it down there maybe probably a couple millimeters, not much at all. I'll go ahead and retighten the tip there. And then for taking readings, you always want to put that antenna cap back on so that you'll have the same kind of reading as you will in SWR as when you're operating the antenna on the road. So now that we've got the adjustment made, we'll go ahead and head back inside the vehicle and take another reading on the meter. Before we take the second SWR reading, let's quickly review what it is we're trying to accomplish. There's two main primary goals when you're tuning your SWR for your antenna. The first one is you want the SWR ideally to be below 2.0 on all channels, and this ensures that you're getting fairly strong and efficient operations from your antenna, and there aren't going to be any damaging results to your radio as an effect of your antenna being untuned. Between 2.0 and 3.0 SWR across the channels is kind of a gray area. You know, it's not very efficient, and while it may not cause damage, it potentially could, and you really don't want to operate your radio in that kind of gray area. Anything above 3.0 SWR on your channels is really a danger warning, and you're really gonna receive poor performance, really limited transmission and reception range, and there's a strong chance that your antenna, because it can't emit the heat your radio sends out as a signal, it comes back down the wire and it can actually damage your radio. So the two goals, the first one is we want to get SWR below 2.0 on all our channels, and secondly, we want it to get the SWR as close as possible for both of those. On our last reading, we had SWR on channel 1 of, I believe it was right around 1.2, and on channel 40 of about 2.5. Now, if we did this correctly, and if you tune the antenna in the direction it needs to be tuned based on where SWR is high and where it's low on which channels, you should see those begin to converge and come together. So if you tune it in the right direction, either lengthening or shortening, in the way you need to, you should see those readings come together. So you might see the SWR will come up from 1, so it might come up a little bit on 1, and it'll definitely, hopefully, come down from 2.5. So let's go ahead and see what we've got. On channel 1, we'll go ahead and just take another reading. I'll key the mic here. Go ahead and change the set switch. Have it right there, and we'll flip down to take our reading. And it looks like we're about 1.3, a little bit higher than we were before, and that kind of is in line with our convergence theory, so that is a good indication. that we were taking the right step. So let's change over to channel 40. And the reason we do it on channel 1 and channel 40 is that if we can get the SWR within a reasonable range on both of those channels, then that ensures that SWR is safe and acceptable across the entire range of channels. So if you can get them okay on 1 and 40, you're guaranteed they're good on all the rest. So let's go ahead and take a second reading on channel 40 here. Go ahead and change that set switch, flip it down, and as you can see, that really dropped. So that dropped way below. And so our convergence theory still looks like it's supported. So if anything, we probably went a little too far in shortening the antenna. But in this case, as long as you can get your SWR below 1.5 on all channels, even if they're a little different, 1.3 or 1.2, the incremental difference or performance and efficiency you'll see from retuning and kind of adjusting that incremental amount really isn't going to make that much of a difference. So for our cases here, since we have it below 1.5, 1.5 SWR on all channels, we're going to go ahead and leave it because that's a well-tuned antenna. Now, at home, if you've gone ahead and done this and you still have it, you still have SWR above 2.0 on either one of the channels, you'll need to go ahead and make those incremental changes again. So depending if SWR is higher on channel 1 or on channel 40, you'll either need to incrementally lengthen or shorten your antenna. So you want to go ahead and repeat these processes until you go ahead and have acceptable SWR of 1.5 across the entire board from channel 1 to channel 40. Now, one question that we get a lot is, what do I do with the SWR meter now that I've finished tuning my antenna? And the answer is you don't need to leave it in line. In fact, what you can do is you can actually go ahead and take these out, unscrew all of the connections from the back, take these out, and then hook up your radio and antenna just like they were when, as you probably thought as they will be installed normally. So you hook your antenna directly into the back of your radio, and you really don't need to keep that SWR meter in line. You can go ahead and store it somewhere, and if ever you do need to recheck the SWR, it's a fairly straightforward process, and it's usually pretty easy to hook that meter back up. So that's it. This should give you all the instructions and details you do need to efficiently and effectively tune your antenna for peak operating performance. Thanks for watching, and thank you very much also for being a Right Channel Radio's customer.